Okay, well remember there, Kyle, it's not so much about who you are as much as it is about what people are attracted to.
Yeah, can we do this whole dinner again?
Well, that's fine, because there's a lot of different brands people are attracted to. How about this one? Kyle, sensitive, outdoorsy, frugal, victim.
That's hilarious, Gan. I don't really get it, but it's still hilarious.
Wealthy, handsome, multi-talented, Grammy Award-winning victim. Oh, that one's taken already. Sorry, hold on.
And well, I've got a lot of songs, and I was wondering, I'm clearly good, right? People wouldn't tell me I was good if I wasn't good, would they?
I understand you want people to like you more and think you're cool. Is that right?
The second the premiere hit screens, something shifted, not just online, but culturally. South Park didn't need to drop names, and they didn't. But within 60 seconds, the internet had already filled in the blanks. A red-haired silhouette, a wide-brimmed hat, a barely concealed wine glass with pink liquid swirling in frame. It wasn't subtle, and that's what made it brilliant. Because South Park doesn't do subtlety unless they're baiting something bigger. And this was a trap.
I'm sorry.
It's not your fault. I kind of took you out of your natural habitat. I'm surprised you're still breathing.
The kind of quiet reference that doesn't just tease a joke, it dares you to react. And react, they did. Within minutes, TikTok exploded. Reddit threads blew up with high-resolution screenshots and side-by-side comparisons. Fans were already declaring it the soft launch of a full sequel. One post with over 200,000 likes simply read, "They're back." And this time it's personal. Hashtags like Worldwide Privacy Tour 2 and Still Spare began trending. Some users even pulled up the previous episode to dissect the similarities, right down to the exact shape of the wine glass and the angle of Harry's cartoon nose.
It has been several months now since our beloved Queen has died. Our Canadians are finding it hard to go on. All Canadians, that is, except for our first guest, the Prince and his wife.
The crowd sleuthing wasn't just enthusiastic, it was surgical. But what made this moment different from the last time Meghan and Harry were parodied wasn't just the speed of the reaction, it was the tone. Last year, when the Worldwide Privacy Tour episode dropped, people were shocked. They laughed, sure, but there was also an undertone of disbelief. Did they really go there? This time, the laughter was quicker, sharper, less surprised. The moment those shadowy characters appeared, fans weren't gasping, they were clapping, cheering, practically salivating, because now it's not taboo to joke about the Sussexes. It's expected. That's a dangerous shift, especially for a brand built entirely on control.
Down with the monarchy! We deserve our privacy! These people.
Meghan has spent the better part of 3 years curating an image of softness, of sophistication, of wounded but empowered femininity. Her new lifestyle push, complete with pastel branding, rosé wine and whispered affirmations, was designed to distance her from the chaos of the royal exit era. This was supposed to be her rebrand, her clean slate, but South Park didn't just crash the party, they lit it on fire. And the timing couldn't be worse. The teaser dropped less than a month after Meghan's official wine soft launch. Her team had already begun seeding influencer posts and pitching wellness outlets. There were whispers of a partnership with a high-end lifestyle blog. Her narrative was in motion.
So you hate journalists? That's right. And now you wrote a book that reports on the lives of the royal family. Right. So you're a journalist.
And then came South Park's opening shot, a quiet, cutting reminder that no matter how carefully you paint over the past, the internet still remembers. And worse, it's screenshots. What's more, this wasn't a random cameo. According to fans who followed South Park's episodic patterns, early season teases like this one are almost always followed up. It's how the show sets up arcs, especially for high-profile targets. One user wrote, "This is how they baited the Streaming Wars trilogy. It starts with a blink and you'll miss it, and ends with a cultural bloodbath." And that's exactly what Meghan fears. Because if the teaser is already this pointed, and the fans this rabid, what happens when the full episode drops? That's when it gets real. And that's what makes this moment more than just a pop culture Easter egg. It's the crack of thunder before the storm.
We want privacy! We want privacy!
And deep inside Archwell, they could already feel the downpour coming. But as we'll soon see, they had no idea just how fast it would arrive. The teaser hadn't even finished airing when Archwell reportedly went into full-blown meltdown mode. This wasn't the usual flurry of emails or a group chat filled with nervous emoji reactions. No, insiders say this was a red-level alert, the internal code used when a reputational crisis is considered not just imminent, but actively in motion. Meghan allegedly called her legal team within minutes, not a publicist, not a brand strategist. Her lawyers, that alone tells you everything.
And please stop sending me samples.
I hear you, Andy. I'll amp it up. I'll smash a wine glass. I'll tell Kyle she has Munchausen syndrome. I'll accuse Dorit of doing coke.
One source who's worked adjacent to Archwell's PR network described the mood as frantic and furious. The moment someone forwarded Meghan a screen grab of the cartoon silhouettes, the red hair, the wide-brimmed hat, the barely disguised wine glass, she reportedly asked one question: "Is this already trending?" When the answer came back yes, and then some, she didn't speak, just stared. Then, according to the source, she whispered, "They're doing it again." But here's the thing. The panic wasn't just about being referenced. It was about when and how. Meghan had spent months laying the groundwork for her rebrand. The rosé wine soft launch was just the first domino in a larger strategy, one that insiders claim involved a digital wellness platform, a line of feminine home goods, and even whispers of a book on quiet strength in the modern world. All pastel aesthetics, inspirational quotes, and clean girl energy. But the moment that South Park teaser hit, the tone shifted overnight.
We'll just have to find a way to make £50 billion on our own.
Suddenly, the internet wasn't discussing her refresh. They were debating how brutal the next South Park episode might be. Meghan sipping rosé wasn't cozy chic. It was meme bait. And that wasn't just frustrating, it was humiliating. So the calls began. Multiple attorneys were reportedly looped in by midnight. Archwell's crisis communications lead, someone who previously worked with political figures and high-stakes brand clients, was said to be on the phone non-stop, cycling through media consultants, social sentiment analysts, and even friendly journalists to assess the scale of the hit.
Who's that?
That's your nephew, Archie.
You're pulling my leg. Why have we not met before?
You've met him like 1,000 times.
One insider alleged that Meghan's team activated what they call the containment playbook, a pre-drafted set of emergency options for narrative reclamation. Problem is, none of the options accounted for cartoon satire being the trigger. One strategist on the outer ring of Archwell's PR circle reportedly warned early, "This isn't something we can control. South Park doesn't engage, they don't clarify, and they don't care." That's when things turned from panic to dread. The most chilling realization came when the team reportedly noticed that the teaser moment wasn't even being mocked in a comedic way. It was being dissected like a political scandal. Fans weren't just laughing, they were theorizing, building timelines, creating animatics of what the full episode might include. The speculation wasn't random, it was coordinated, viral, and entirely outside Meghan's reach. So what do you do when silence looks weak but speaking up makes you the punchline? That's the question Meghan's team was frantically trying to answer.
I don't know what to do. How are we going to pay for school for Archie?
I have to tell you, I never realized so many things cost money. Like this chicken. I bet you had to pay for it.
And by the time the sun rose over Montecito, the memes were already outrunning the messaging. And then came the first leak. The first leak didn't come through a news outlet or a gossip blog. It came through Discord, a low-res, slightly pixelated image dropped anonymously into a private animation server, accompanied by a single line, "Scene 14, Act 1. At first, fans thought it was a joke. Fan art, maybe? Some kind of AI-generated spoof designed to stir chaos. But then came a second frame, and a third, each more detailed than the last, and by the time the fourth image hit, complete with watermarks, shading guides, and production timestamps, there was no longer any doubt. These weren't fakes, they were real, and they were brutal.
We can be the people we talked about being, with no more worries about how we look or the image we project to people. What matters is what we have on the inside. Hello?
One of the first frames to go viral showed cartoon Meghan clutching an oversized bottle of wine labeled "Empathy in a Bottle," her eyes half closed, her expression frozen somewhere between smug and sobbing. Standing behind her, cartoon Harry, holding a measuring cup labeled "Spare Parts." It was exaggerated, cruel, and devastatingly on-brand. The internet exploded. Within hours, X, was on fire. Hashtags like South Park leak and still spare trended globally. TikTok creators rushed to animate the static frames with dramatic music and voiceovers pulled from real Meghan interviews. Some paired them with clips from her Archetypes podcast, turning heartfelt monologues into punchline setups. Others matched Harry's cartoon face to scenes from the Oprah special, adding captions like "When the rebrand hits a snag." Reddit users treated the leak like it was the Zapruder film, zooming in, analyzing every background detail. "Is that a vineyard made of broken Spotify logos?" one post asked. Another user pointed out what looked like a broken podcast mic behind Harry's head. One comment got over 20,000 upvotes. "This isn't a roast, this is an autopsy." And from a PR standpoint, it was a nuclear event.
Well, it's an apartment, so...
Yes, an apartment palace, I know that. Lots of tiny palaces inside one big palace.
The first parody episode had already dented the Sussex brand, turning privacy into a punchline and Harry into a walking contradiction. But this leak, it signaled something far more dangerous, that the writers weren't just revisiting old jokes, they were escalating, going deeper, smarter, meaner. Not just mocking behavior, but questioning the entire premise of Meghan and Harry's public existence. Inside Archwell, the mood reportedly shifted from controlled panic to helpless horror. Sources say the PR team immediately began trying to trace the leak's origin. Was it a disgruntled freelancer, an intentional PR stunt gone rogue, or worse, a deliberate leak from within the animation studio to generate buzz? No one knew, but the timing couldn't have been worse. Meghan's Rosé brand had just begun rolling out influencer kits. Her team had been emailing press contacts, securing cozy interviews and lifestyle pieces for late summer.
She hates delete.
You need to knock it off, and you're hitting everyone with that table.
One planned headline from a prominent online magazine allegedly read, "Meghan's Vineyard era begins." That piece never ran, because the internet wasn't talking about vineyards or wine pairings. They were talking about cartoon Meghan screaming into a bottle, while cartoon Harry cried behind a mountain of memoirs. The symbolism was unmissable, and it struck a nerve. Not just with critics, but with longtime supporters who suddenly felt like the couple had lost control of their own story. By day's end, Archwell insiders reportedly held an emergency strategy session over Zoom, trying to brainstorm a way forward. But the question wasn't just how to respond, it was whether to respond at all. Because as one insider put it, once you become the joke, there's no winning the argument. And unfortunately for Meghan, that was just the first leak. While Meghan's team scrambled to draft legal threats and PR spin, Prince Harry was reportedly spiraling in a very different way. Not in a war room, not in front of a publicist, but alone. One source familiar with the Sussex household described it bluntly. He wasn't angry, he was gutted. Not just because of the cartoon, not even because of the leak, but because for the first time he realized no one was going to save them this time.
Yeah, we're hoping the ketchups and mustards are going to be sold at Whole Foods, which, would be huge. Oh, and they're all organic in case anyone was wondering.
We weren't.
According to a longtime acquaintance from Harry's UK circle, the prince made several desperate phone calls the night after the leak. But these weren't business calls. These were personal, emotional. One of the first numbers he allegedly dialed, a former royal equerry, someone who had once been a quiet lifeline inside the palace, helping him navigate private press battles and family landmines. Someone who knew how to stay off the record and get things done. But the call went unanswered. Another source claims Harry tried to reach out to a Netflix executive he'd once been on warm terms with. Back when the docuseries was first being pitched, this particular exec had reportedly championed Harry as fresh and authentic, a rare royal voice speaking truth to power. But now, radio silence. According to an insider familiar with the studio, the exec didn't want to get involved. Too hot, too messy, too animated, literally. And that silence? It reportedly hit Harry harder than any meme or cartoon frame. He thought someone would help, the source explained. Not everyone, but someone. The fact that even his old allies are ghosting him, that's when it sunk in. They're not just being mocked, they're being abandoned.
Oh, you hilarious, Meghan.
Why did you move back here anyway? It was ultimately a tough call, but there were a lot of factors to consider.
Those close to Harry say he's taken the leak personally, deeply personally. Unlike Meghan, who channels her stress into strategy and control, Harry reportedly internalizes the chaos. And the image of his cartoon self sobbing into a mountain of memoirs, it wasn't funny to him, it was humiliating. Especially because he's been working quietly behind the scenes on what insiders describe as a long-game redemption arc. Something slower, more grounded, a return to meaningful projects, maybe even something philanthropic. Now, that path looks shattered, not just because of public perception, but because his name is trending again, for all the wrong reasons. One devastating detail from the leak reportedly hit Harry especially hard. A mocked-up therapy scene, showing cartoon Harry cradling a baby bottle labeled validation, while a therapist doodles under a note that reads, "Crisis of narrative." It was exaggerated, absurd, satirical, but it hurt, because it wasn't that far off. Not when you peel back the polish and look at how the public really sees him now. To make matters worse, one source close to the situation says Harry floated the idea of issuing a quiet solo statement, something unbranded, maybe even anonymous, a blog post or a short essay, expressing humility and regret, trying to shift the conversation back toward humanity. But that idea was reportedly shot down, hard. It would look weak, one advisor allegedly warned, and worse, it confirms the leaks are real.
Anyway, Meghan, you were saying Dorit's such a what?
What? No, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything, Dorit.
Well, I heard it somewhere.
So instead, Harry went silent, again, and while Meghan tackled strategy, legalities, and influencer damage control, Harry allegedly wandered the Montecito estate, headphones in, walking in circles, not for exercise, not for clarity, but because, according to one insider, he didn't know where else to go. And what's terrifying for the Sussex team, this spiral is happening before the episode even airs. While memes ricocheted through every corner of the internet and Harry reportedly struggled behind the scenes, the real-world consequences were beginning to snowball fast. This wasn't just about reputation anymore, it was about revenue. According to multiple brand insiders, the moment the leaks dropped and South Park chatter reignited, the corporate world didn't flinch, it froze. It started with whispers, two potential partners allegedly pausing conversations with Meghan's team within 24 hours of the first leak. One was a luxury skincare brand, the other, a wellness platform known for partnering with aspirational influencers and celebrity entrepreneurs. Both were mid-discussion. Contracts weren't signed, but they were close, very close. And then, nothing. Calls stopped. Emails slowed. One source said Meghan's team reached out twice for confirmation on timelines. No reply. One executive familiar with the skincare brand's internal review put it bluntly, nobody wants to be featured in a cartoon gag, and Meghan is one punchline away from becoming retail poison. That may sound harsh, but from a corporate perspective, it's cold, calculated logic. Because when a public figure becomes the face of a meme, they're no longer aspirational, they're unpredictable, uncontrollable, unfunny in all the wrong ways, and it wasn't just sponsorships at risk.
Hey, thanks for having us on the show. It's so awesome to be here. It's great.
Insiders now allege that a streaming platform, not Netflix, but one of its biggest competitors, was quietly developing a soft-scripted docuseries focused on Meghan's creative process. Think lifestyle meets legacy. Behind-the-scenes looks at her wine branding, aesthetic design, and female-led business development. It was meant to reframe her as a quiet innovator, a tastemaker. That project, shelved. Not delayed, not reworked. Shelved. The reason cited in internal memos according to one leak, satirical volatility. That's not a phrase you see often, but it's one that's now being whispered across Hollywood boardrooms and brand strategy meetings. Meghan's team had carefully sculpted her post-royal identity to revolve around elegance, growth, and empowerment. But once South Park teased a sequel, and especially after the leaks, none of those words stuck. What stuck was parody, wine bottle, and desperate. Even Meghan's rosé brand, which had just begun onboarding influencers and preparing its full marketing rollout, is reportedly hitting walls. Influencers who had previously agreed to post now want out. One fashion blogger, overheard at a West Hollywood event, allegedly said, "I'm not risking a cartoon version of me showing up in the next episode holding that bottle." It was meant as a joke, but it wasn't wrong. The impact rippled further. Podcast studios, especially in the wake of Meghan's split with Spotify, were reportedly watching the backlash closely. Meghan's team had been pitching a refreshed podcast concept, one that leaned into lifestyle, femininity, and resilience. But after the leaks, studios grew quiet. Interest waned. No one wanted to be associated with a brand currently caught in the crosshairs of satire. One senior brand consultant summed it up like this: "You can survive a scandal. You can even survive criticism. But once you become a recurring punchline, it's over. Not because people hate you, but because they've stopped taking you seriously. That's the nightmare unfolding behind closed doors. The loss of credibility, not because of anything criminal or even cruel, but because South Park reframed Meghan and Harry, not as rebels or victims or even influencers, but as cartoons, recurring ones. And in Hollywood, that's a label you don't recover from, especially when the palace is sitting back and smirking."
What the hell? What did he just say? He victimized me. It's because I'm an ethnic woman. He can't do that. I'll see. Wait, you're ethnic? This is an outrage. We'll just see how he deals with my blue.
Back in London, the mood couldn't be more different. While Archwell insiders reportedly scrambled to plug leaks, soothe sponsors, and prevent total PR collapse, the palace response, or lack thereof, was loud in its own way. Utter silence. Not a word from Buckingham. Not a peep from Kensington. No aides briefing reporters. No insiders whispering concerns to the royal rota. Just nothing. And that nothing, it spoke volumes. One royal courtier put it plainly to a UK tabloid journalist who'd covered the Oprah fallout. This isn't negligence, it's strategy. Because after all the interviews, the memoir, the documentary, and the brand building that came at the crown's expense, there was never going to be a cavalry coming to their defense. Meghan and Harry built their brand on torching the palace, and now, the palace is letting them burn on their own. Reportedly, even the most stoic royal aides had a moment of private amusement. Behind-the-scenes WhatsApp groups among staffers at Kensington Palace and Clarence House allegedly lit up the night of the South Park teaser. One popular meme, according to someone close to the chats, was a screen grab of the cartoon wine bottle paired with the caption, "Pairs well with misplaced ambition." Others simply circulated the now infamous pink silhouette frame with a single word, "Cheers." The royal rota, too, stayed suspiciously quiet. These are the reporters who typically spring into action to defend the firm's image, sometimes subtly, sometimes not. Yet this time, no op-eds, no sources close to the family planting gentle concerns, just a few dry headlines noting the leaks, framed with curiosity but void of concern. That silence sent a message even clearer than any press release could, and then came the smirk.
It's so nice to have you back in London, Meghan. I've missed our little lunches.
We've never had lunch together, Kate.
Well, we must continue the tradition.
Prince William's reaction, according to a source inside Kensington Palace, was brief but telling. He reportedly saw the teaser clip, watched the online reaction snowball, and smirked. That's it. One look. No commentary. But in royal language, that's the equivalent of a mic drop. He's amused, the source said. Not maliciously, just unsurprised, like this is the natural consequence of all the noise. It tracks with what William has allegedly believed for years, that Harry and Meghan mistook media attention for influence, that they tried to turn the royal institution into a lifestyle brand and forgot that. Eventually brands get reviewed, satirized, mocked. And now South Park isn't just mocking the Sussexes, it's doing it while Buckingham Palace watches from across the Atlantic with folded arms and raised eyebrows. There are even rumors, whispers only, that former royal staffers may have contributed flavor to the South Park parody. Nothing official, nothing verifiable, just a few subtle character tics, mannerisms, inside jokes that feel too real. Whether that's true or not almost doesn't matter. The perception is already baked in, and perception is everything, especially when it's weaponized by silence. Because the royal family doesn't do clapbacks. They don't post statements or hop on live streams, they let others speak for them, or in this case, let the world mock Meghan and Harry without interruption. And that's more cutting than any cartoon. Because when the people you once called family choose not to defend you in your lowest moment, it's not just betrayal, it's confirmation. And for Meghan and Harry, that's the most painful part. Especially when late-night hosts and stand-up comedians are about to pile on next with zero restraint.
Thanks. Okay, see you later. Oh, would you pick up some milk?
Once South Park threw down the gauntlet with its now infamous teaser, it didn't take long for the comedy world to pick it up and run full speed. Because once Meghan and Harry became cartoon bait, every stand-up comic, talk show host, TikTok satirist, and late-night writer saw the same green light. It's open season. TikTok moved first. Thousands of creators stitched together clips from the original worldwide privacy tour with leaked storyboards from the new episode. Some built theories, others built fake trailers. One viral edit showed cartoon Meghan crying into a wine goblet while Harry Googled how to legally cancel satire, scored to Sarah McLachlan's Angel. It racked up over 6 million views in a day. Another TikTok simply looped the words empathy in a bottle over Meghan's podcast voice while flashing the leaked cartoon stills. Users flooded the comments with things like, "I'm crying and cringing at the same time, and this deserves an Emmy, just not for them." Then came the late-night circuit. Jimmy Kimmel didn't hesitate. "South Park's writers aren't just back," he said, grinning. "They're reloading." He joked that Meghan's new wine line was the official drink of pretending not to read the comments. The audience howled. Even Stephen Colbert, known for being softer on royal scandals, couldn't resist. The Duke and Duchess of Montecito are reportedly shaken, probably by the tannins. It was punchy, cruel, and it landed hard. And it wasn't just talk shows. Podcasters, parody accounts, and even rival cartoons got involved. One adult animated show slipped in a blink and you'll miss it gag. 2 unnamed characters, one ginger, one brunette, arguing in a lavender vineyard while dodging wine bottles raining from the sky. No names were dropped, but viewers instantly knew who it was meant to be. Screenshots circulated within hours. Even live stand-up routines started cashing in. A rising comic at the Laugh Factory allegedly opened her set with "Meghan's rosé pairs beautifully with victimhood," and finishes with a strong note of delusion.
So let me start with you, sir. You've lived a life with the royal family, you've had everything handed to you, but you say your life has been hard, and now you've written all about it in your new book, Where?
That one clip alone got shared across Instagram and YouTube with captions like, "Brutal but fair," and "This is Meghan's PR nightmare come to life." But perhaps the most telling sign, influencer parody accounts. Duchess of Chardonnay gained over 200,000 followers in 48 hours, posting fake product reviews like, "Pairs well with royal disses and dodged accountability." Another, Prince of Wine, spoofed Harry's inner monologue with lines like, "Maybe if I hold this wine bottle tighter, the memes will stop." These weren't just jokes, they were signals. The culture had shifted. The Sussexes weren't being dissected like public figures. They were being celebrated as the new faces of cringe. Their very presence became a punchline. And worse, an easy one. Because when a joke is this contagious, the punchlines start writing themselves. And Meghan's team, they couldn't keep up. One former Archwell staffer allegedly said, "It's like watching a house catch fire and realizing your only hose is a press release no one will read." And while the comedy avalanche grew, Meghan tried to fight back, not with satire, but with sincerity, and unfortunately, it glitched. It was supposed to be a reset. a moment of vulnerability, a chance for Meghan to reclaim the narrative, not with lawyers or glossy magazine spreads, but with authenticity. Her team had reportedly brainstormed every possible way to respond to the cartoon chaos, and the verdict was clear. No press statements, no interviews, and absolutely no legal talk. Just Meghan, on Instagram Live, casual, bare-faced, speaking from the heart. It was the Hail Mary play of PR. No announcement, no media rollout, just a quiet notification ping. @Meghan Markle has gone live. The screen lit up to Meghan in soft natural light, her hair pulled back, wearing a muted pastel sweater and minimal makeup. A gold chain shimmered at her collarbone. She smiled gently and opened with a warm, "Hi friends." The comments poured in, hearts, support, curiosity. A few thousand viewers joined in seconds. At first it worked. Meghan began speaking about reflection, about grace, about tuning out noise and staying grounded. Her voice was calm, calculated, yes, but not stiff.
We couldn't get jobs and we ran out of money. We ate chicken out of bowls and rode in big cars full of smelly people to something called work. Every day was a new nightmare.
She spoke of choosing kindness when it's hard, of leading with heart and building a life outside the chaos. It was all very on-brand, soft, feminine, exactly the image her team had been trying to restore after the meme storm. But then, the glitch happened. Right as Meghan was mid-sentence, something about ignoring negativity and staying rooted in purpose. The video froze, the audio lagged, her face paused in a strange mid-blink expression, mouth slightly open, a beat, then two. Then the screen flickered and kicked viewers out entirely. The live was over. At first it seemed like a simple tech hiccup, but within minutes, screen recordings of the frozen frame were everywhere. TikTok users layered the moment with dramatic violin music and South Park voiceovers. One viral clip showed Meghan frozen mid-blink while Cartman chanted, "We want privacy" in the background. Another superimposed cartoon bees buzzing around her head, labeled things like spoof wine, South Park leak, and cease and desist. It was devastatingly quick. What had been intended as a soft human moment turned into another punchline, another meme, another reason for the internet to double down.
Yes, that's right, friend. You see, my wife and I
was totally like, you should write a book because your family's like stupid, and then so are like journalists.
And then came the rumor. A podcast host with over 1 million followers claimed he received a DM from someone allegedly close to South Park's animation staff. The message? We saw the live, and yes, it's going in. Whether true or not, that line was enough. Fans were already assuming the glitch was going to be animated, remixed, turned into yet another joke the Sussexes couldn't control. To make things worse, Meghan's team reportedly cut the stream after just under 12 minutes, well short of the planned 20. The comments had grown unpredictable. Trolls were trickling in. One viewer even typed, "Say Rosé if Cartman has you hostage." The damage was done. What was meant to be her quiet comeback had become yet another viral moment for all the wrong reasons. Even her allies hesitated to repost it. Some offered support, muted praise like "so brave" and "such grace," but the volume was nothing like before. Others said nothing at all, because now, even a soft, sincere live stream wasn't safe from the fire.
Park County Police Station, what's your emergency?
Yeah, the neighbors across the street are setting off fireworks and it's 10:30 at night.
Oh, is it the Prince of Canada and his wife who just want to be left alone?
And the next round of leaks was about to pour gasoline on it, just when the buzz from Meghan's glitched livestream started to settle, barely, and only for a moment. The second wave hit. Another batch of South Park storyboards leaked, and this time, there was no ambiguity, no low-res guessing game. These were crisp, colored, watermarked, labeled with act numbers, scene breaks, and internal animation notes. And the content? Somehow even more brutal than the first. One now infamous frame depicted cartoon Meghan, perched on a throne made entirely of broken wine bottles. Each bottle bore the name of a failed or mocked venture. Pearl, Spotify, Bench, and of course Rosé. In her lap sat a massive scroll labeled Duchess of Influencing. Her cartoon eyes were X'd out with pink dollar signs. And the worst part? She was mid-speech, screaming the word grace into a gold microphone while a crowd of bored villagers scrolled their phones. That wasn't satire, that was surgical.
How many more princes and his wives have to live in this nightmare?
Another leak showed cartoon Harry curled in the fetal position on the floor of a therapy room. A banner above him read, "Still spare." He clutched an oversized baby bottle marked validation, while an animated therapist jotted down notes under the heading, "Crisis of Narrative." One of those notes, allegedly, said, "Has lost plot, possibly permanently." Reddit went feral. TikTok stitched dramatic violins over motion edits. Instagram accounts reposted the frames with captions like "South Park isn't just dragging, they're dismantling." And Twitter detonated. Hashtag spoiled Sussex trended globally within hours. Even former fans were stunned. One post read, "I expected a roast. I didn't expect character assassination with punchlines."
Andy, you gotta be kidding me. I've brought plenty of conflict to the show.
I'm sorry, Meghan. It's just not working out. All you talked about all season was your line of ketchup.
And here's what made it worse. These new images didn't come from the same source as the first batch. According to sleuth accounts and watermark analysts, yes, that's a real thing now. These storyboards originated from a different part of the animation pipeline, which means this wasn't one rogue staffer going off script. It was a pattern, multiple insiders, multiple leaks, all timed, all deliberate. The Sussexes weren't facing a single cartoon episode. They were staring down a movement.
Over, under, around, and through. Meet Mr. Bunny Rabbit, pull and through! I did it!
Good job, Harry.
Meanwhile, as the internet spiraled into another viral frenzy, Trey Parker, co-creator of South Park, made a surprise appearance at the Colorado Creators Festival. No cameras, no press, just a casual Q&A with a room full of media professionals, but one line blew the lid off everything. When asked about how the team handles leaks, Trey grinned and said, "If leaks scare you, wait till you see what didn't leak." The room roared. The quote spread like wildfire. Within minutes, every entertainment reporter and meme page had it. That wasn't just a warning, it was a promise, and fans treated it like gospel. Reddit started a countdown clock. YouTubers posted analysis videos, speculating on what scenes didn't make it into the leaks.
There were highs and lows. It's all good. Anyway, see you guys at tea. Come on, Harry.
One theory suggested there was a fantasy sequence where Meghan imagines herself as a historical icon, only to be pelted with rejection letters from cartoon Netflix execs. It hasn't been confirmed, but at this point, it doesn't need to be. The point has already been made. South Park isn't just spoofing Meghan and Harry again. They're staging a demolition, and if this second wave of leaks was Act 1, then what's coming next might just torch whatever is left of their public persona. Because by the time Trey Parker starts winking at the crowd, you know one thing for sure, the writers are done playing, and Meghan and Harry, they haven't even seen the worst of it. With Trey Parker's smirk still echoing across Reddit threads and fan forums, the countdown officially began. Not to the next leak, those were already expected, but to the actual episode, the final cut, the one reportedly already delivered to Comedy Central, fully animated, fully voiced, and fully locked.
Hey guys! So funny bumping into you.
Yeah, I mean, we all live here now, so not that funny.
At this point, there's no undoing what's coming. The question now, what survives the blast and what doesn't? Inside Archwell, according to one insider, the mood has shifted from panic to paralysis. Meghan's inner circle, once buzzing with comm strategies and influencer alignment decks, is reportedly exhausted. One source close to her PR team said, "We're on our fourth final plan in 2 weeks. Nothing sticks. Everything leaks. Every move is another meme. Some advisors are begging for silence. Total blackout. No appearances, no quotes, no Instagram lives. Just disappear. Let the episode air. Let the flames rage. Hope the fire burns out faster without oxygen." It's a classic damage control move. If you can't fight the narrative, wait for another story to knock it out of the headlines.
If it's truly what we want, then we really can get away from it all. No more magazines and Netflix shows. We really can live a normal life. Yes, I'm sure you agree, darling.
But others inside Meghan's camp are terrified of silence. They believe that retreating now would confirm weakness, that it would look like surrender. And for someone whose brand hinges on image control, disappearing could send the signal that South Park won, that they cracked the royal wall. Meghan has spent years reinforcing, so the internal tug-of-war continues. Every option looks like a trap. One PR analyst explained, "If she speaks, she's mocked. If she stays quiet, she's erased." And while Archwell spins its wheels, brand experts are running the numbers, and they're not good. Engagement on Meghan's Rosé launch is down. Coverage requests are drying up. Even curiosity, the last thing keeping the Sussexes culturally relevant, is fading. The biggest threat now isn't backlash, one strategist said. It's boredom. Because at the height of their media blitz, Meghan and Harry still had defenders, supporters who believed in their message, their purpose. But this time, even those voices are going quiet. Not because they stopped caring, but because they're tired of trying to keep up with the damage. The livestream debacle, the leaks, the parodies, the palace silence. It's no longer a controversy, it's a routine. And that's what South Park does best.
Bravo fired me. Well, not really, but basically, they only offered me friend of the housewives for next season.
It doesn't just roast its targets, it renders them culturally unserious. It freezes them in time as characters instead of people. It turns nuance into a caricature and cements that version in the public imagination. That's the danger Meghan and Harry now face. Not being hated, but being flattened into cartoons.
I'm sorry, I need a drink.
One entertainment journalist said it best. They're no longer polarizing, they're punchlines, and punchlines don't get brand deals. As the final episode looms, Meghan's team is reportedly still scrambling for a way out, but every option feels like walking into quicksand because the writers don't just control the jokes, they control the rhythm, the timing, the entire arc. And if rumors are true, we haven't even seen Act 2.
Damn it, now the prince is playing polo on the lawn.
We are here because privacy is a basic human right.
So what happens when the final punchline drops? Do Meghan and Harry finally pivot, step back, reset, find new ground? Or do they double down again and become the first royals to get South Park twice in one season? Drop your thoughts below, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.